breaking news that we just couldn't help but to drop everything and talk about for a second. 5 hours ago, according to my email here, I'll be curious when you got this, Conrad, but 5 hours ago at 9:40 a.m., received an email from Google Local Services Ads. Headline: Updating local services ads, additional terms for providers on 6/5/2025. And they outline some major changes in their terms for local services ad. Conrad, what is Google changing about local services ads terms?
Well, to me, like you read the subject line, and this feels like something you're going to gloss over and not actually read. But holy crap, am I glad that we didn't do that, because this is big. And you received your email about 5 minutes before I did, so maybe there's some favoritism
There's speed
going
of
on
light.
over here.
It was
Speed of
takes a while to get across the
speed
country.
of Mailchimp at
East
Google.
Coast. Right.
So to get right into this is really fascinating. Um, and I find this extremely alarming. Google is changing the way they use the data that they record from local services ads, and to me, changing in a very problematic way. So let me kind of read the two most critical bullets to me. New provisions allowing Google to modify, display, and use content you provide to your local services profile, such as blah 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 blah, in your local services ads and across other Google products and services. So they can now modify, display, and use content as they see fit across all of Google's products and services, which is interesting in terms of what you think you can create from a content perspective. However, they go further and they say there are new provisions allowing Google to select, modify, display, and use rich content, okay, which includes information on, and they specifically call out special offers, pricing information, provider biographies, service descriptions, photographs, etc. But they are going to mine these, and they call this out. They mine this from your phone call and message conversations with local service end users, which means we know they've been recording calls in local service ads. We know they've been listening to them because they stopped the manual process for disputing whether or not the lead was good, and they've automated that. So we know they've been using this data already, but they are now going to expand the use of this data in what I consider to be extremely troubling on many different accounts. What do you think, Guy? Should we scream? And you know I'm sensationalist.
Yes,
You are the
scream. We should
calm and
scream.
measured.
We should scream. I hope we raise enough of a stink that they change. So here's my view of this. First of all, so many lawyers are surprised that are on LSAs are even surprised to learn that Google's using any of this intake data at all, right? So let's just put that to bed. If you've been using LSAs, they've been using it for some of the ways that Conrad's talked about. They're using it in terms of all sorts of things behind the scenes. And that's the thing to me that's the big change here is it's one thing we can, as we should, discuss, debate, hold Google accountable, yada, 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 for ways they're using our data internally behind the scenes, whether it's to serve ads, blah, blah, blah. But this is saying now that data, we can also use it to display. So they can modify and display that underlying data. And so then I start thinking about, okay, well, that sounds problematic. Even if they were like, we're going to do this somehow the right way, doesn't this create a huge risk of client confidences being violated here? Um, and how are they using it? And of course, and this is classic Google, so we're not surprised by this. I reached out to the local services ad support people. At least the representative that I talked to, no one's even brought this up with them. He's like I asked everybody in the room here with
Could
me.
you
He's like, none
please
of us have
forward
any
me that
idea.
Google from Google
I will.
so I can
Yeah, I
see what
will.
you're talking about?
It's unbelievable. And right, exactly. And then again, there are people, and I hate to call people out, but like literally, there is a Google Ads liaison. The job is to be, keeping us informed about what's going on. Um, maybe I missed it. I'm looking through here some of the
What are you
main
looking for?
channels
You
where
looking
I
for the
might see
name?
it. No, I know what the name is.
Yeah.
Um, here, this must be it. This is from 6 hours ago from Ginny Marvin. Well, this is Google Analytics users, so this doesn't even say anything about. Let's see here.
So there's nothing
Anyway,
going on except this email, which is another problem when you're
I
doing
don't see
something.
anything.
There's
I
not.
don't.
There's.
Maybe I
This
missed
is
it.
it.
Maybe I
No,
missed it.
it's me and you, Guy. Maybe part of me. I saw this and I was like, someone is punking me. I wonder
Right.
if this
That's
is actually. This is so outrageous. I genuinely thought to myself, "Am I being punked here?" Because that would be a good. I mean, so there's people
I
at
thought the same
Scorpion have
thing.
sent me a thing. Really?
I thought the
Okay.
same thing. That's why I went to support because I was like,
And you
maybe
found
this is
nothing, right?
fake.
And support
Well,
didn't know
I'm
anything,
looking at.
and you found nothing.
It looks like the emails are coming from legit places.
Yeah.
I think since we've seen this though, a
We,
couple
we've
other
seen this
experts
from
have
multiple
corroborated.
places. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
multiple people are
unlikely
corroborating.
that someone coordinated punking Guy and Conrad, knowing that we would light this on fire and then have to retreat.
So, again, and this is you either opt into this, you either accept these new terms, or your
Let's
LSAs
talk
go
about the
down
opt-in.
on 6.5.
So there's problems with the opt-in, and so if you don't opt in, it doesn't specifically say your LSAs. It says
It does. I thought it did.
It doesn't say LSAs. It says your ads may no longer be eligible. It doesn't say which ads. Is this all of your ads? Is this LSA ads? Is this pay-per-click ads? I don't know because there's no specificity in that. Can you imagine if they took everyone's ads down who didn't opt in on 6.5? But the other problem with the opt-in,
they're not
no,
going to do
read
that.
it.
They're
No,
not going to do that.
So the other problem that I have with the opt-in, then they're very specific on this, is your agency can opt you in on your behalf, and you may opt into this through your agency, and you have no idea, right?
Right.
You have absolutely no idea that you have opted in because you have an agency that hasn't bothered to tell you, and they've taken the easy route here. So I have problems with the opt-in. I have problems with launching these major changes. Whenever you see these major changes that are launched only by email, I always have a problem with that because it's easy.
So I
to
clicked.
skip.
So I clicked into the thing here. I clicked the link.
Oh,
to
the review
accept.
and accept thing.
Yeah, I did. So it takes
Oh,
you to a.
Okay.
Hold on. It takes you to a review the terms of service. We have updated
Okay.
the local services additional terms for providers. So this is specific to local services ads.
Okay.
There's no way they're taking down people's ads that aren't opting into this.
It's
Talk
unclear.
about-
Let me
It's
read
clear.
it to you.
It's clear. The email might not be clear. The email might not be clear
is
to you.
very
but
unclear.
when you read the terms, when you actually click in and look at the language, it's local services.
I wasn't gonna click on that at all. For all I
Yeah.
know, it's gonna download and.
Well, again,
this
you're either clicking on it or you're not surfacing local
I-
services ads anymore.
okay. So
There you go.
question for
So-
you. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's a real problem.
You have to make a decision today. We're gonna play theoretical.
You have to
It's
make a
6
decision by 6.5.
It's right now. Let's pretend it is June
Yeah.
4th, 11:30 p.m. You have to make a call for your clients with all the information we currently have. Do
How
you
about
opt
with
in or do
only
you
the
not?
with only the information that I have?
With only the information that you currently have? Do you opt your clients in or do you or not?
Me sitting as a lawyer or me sitting as attorney sync?
You are the CEO of Attorney Sync. You have
CEO
to
of
make
Attorney
a
Sync.
bold decision for your clients.
I'm not
what's your call?
making no. First of all, I'm not making the decision for my clients. I'm going to my clients
You're
and saying,
taking
"Hey,
my
this
yeah,
is
right.
going. Yeah, this is what's going on." In fact, we just emailed everybody that we're currently managing LSAs for, and it gave them an update. But I will say this: ask me the harder question, which is, what if it's your law firm? What if it's your law firm, Guy? Would you
Okay.
opt into it? Based on what I know right now, I think my answer is probably no.
Yeah.
Now, I tend to be a little bit more on the risk averse side of this, especially when it comes to client data. And maybe I'm thinking this isn't really a ethically permissible way to frame this, but if I'm a criminal defense lawyer, I'm 100% not opting into this. 100%.
Well,
and in fact,
So this was brought up with criminal defense early on with LSAs, right? And that
Right.
was like the recording. People had an issue with that, and I think that is a fair concern.
what do you think
Right.
about in the how do you distinguish that from CallRail?
Yes.
Like,
it
are you
is
like
different.
CallRail okay, but Google not okay
so,
for?
I think it is
transcriptions?
different because you have a different third party on the end, Having said that, I do tell, and we're going off a tangent here, but like if you're a criminal defense attorney and you don't do dynamic call tracking or dynamic call tracking with recording, I'm kind of okay with that. I would rather have fuzzy
What about
information
the
and clients.
what about not recording but still opting into an LSA? So I'm sorry, an SLA, service level agreement with a third party that is still collecting that transcript data, even if they're not recording it. Because again, CallRail, if you've we'd have to look at what the options are. But
Yeah.
even if
So
you're not transcribing, I believe you're opting in for them to use the transcription data or
I
the
think if
call
you
data.
have on a pure marketing front, and then we got to get back
Mhm.
to this craziness
Yeah.
from Mountain View.
Well, it matters
On a
though
pure,
because I think the answer is that you trust CallRail, you don't trust Google. I think that's what you're saying.
I trust CallRail more than I trust Google. I will say that 100% at this point in time.
I think that's what I think that's how you're
This
concluding
is gross.
there.
I think for a criminal defense attorney, wherever you have a barrier to signing up a client, which would be anything that notifies them that this may be recorded as an intake, I think that's a problem, and I think that's fair. Having said that, to your second question, do I trust CallRail over Google? 100%. Like at this point, yes, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that I'll read this is their own words. It's not me making shit up. They specifically call out new provisions allowing Google to select, modify, display, and use rich content, including special offers and pricing information and discounts. So this is applicable outside of the legal industry. But like, think about them building a map of pricing information for law firms based on intake calls. Why would you hand that information over? That's insane. That is insane. And you can't tell me that so that's insane. You can't tell me that they are going to do this with your best, you the end advertiser, with your best intention, with the best intentions for you. Additionally, think about like now you're on the side of Google. Put yourself in an evil hat on. You're on the side of Google. You have pricing information for law firms, right? Yeah. Okay. There's your evil hat. You have
Price
pricing
your
information
leads.
for law firms.
Right.
Now think about how you would use that or could use that or are incented to use that to change their pay-per-click bidding strategies, which you automatically are doing anyway because you've opted them in to your automatic pay-per-click strategy.
Not just their strategies. Why don't we just price fix? Yeah, why don't we just price fix off of the leads, right?
Why would you like so like?
And how would you know? How would you know? Have you ever seen this happen before? Have you ever seen an ad platform use
Oh my god,
data to
why
price
are you dredging up my ugly past? Jesus.
Well, listeners already know. Listeners,
no, they don't. No, I walked right into this trap. Guy masterfully set a trap for me.
Well, it's not live. It's not live.
Do you want to? It is live. We're streaming this live, dude. You want to tell
fix it in post? Fix it in post.
We can't fix it in post when we're doing the fuck. All right, dear listener, I would like to have Guy describe the trap that he just had me walk into, and I'll tell you why I'm so adamant about this. Go ahead.
Many advertising platforms do this. Many
now
legal
he's being nice.
Directory advertising platforms do this, or at least could do this. Again, well, how about this? They are doing this. We know they all are. They're all using the data. They're all using it.
So let's explain what do you mean by this, how they're all using the data, and then let's extrapolate to what Google is doing with deeper data on it.
Yeah, let's use the obvious surface level one. You know, ad inventory is based on the traffic to a page on a directory site, right? It's a cost per eyeballs, right? So we're gonna say,
presumably.
hey. I mean, again, this is very super, right?
Yeah,
this is very super basic. I was trying to give an example.
If you want to say Avo, you can say Avo. I won't cringe.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying that a lot of ad platforms use the data of the visibility of their ads in order to make decisions about pricing and distribution, right? Because we know some of them they do the round robin thing or send it out to a couple people, a couple firms. Everybody knows that. I think that people accept that. They don't like it. And again, when we call this out, like no one likes this, but this is on like super steroids.
Well, let me go deeper into that because having sat on the other side of the desk and the use of data, right? We're talking about ad inventory and impressions, but ultimately, and I can talk you through the way we did this at Avo, and Guy's being nice to not kind of flame this, but one of the things that we went way out of our way to do is get an understanding of when you have those ad impressions, how many this is old hat at this point in time, but how many phone calls are they generating? Are you, if you're at the top, like there's so much data that we were able to develop early on at Avo by doing phone tracking, and we was very, very simplistic at the time, but we were able to assess how many phone calls we were generating for, Murphy, Jones, and Smith in Chattanooga, and then we could be like, oh wow, they paid us $200 and we generated 17 phone calls. That seems really cheap. Let's jack up the price. Like that's what happens. But that is at a very, very rudimentary level and a high level compared to using the pricing information for a specific firm, how a firm prices themselves. Now, am I saying that Google is going to do this? No. Am I saying they're not going to do this? No. Could they do this?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the
right?
problem.
Like,
they could. You've got no control over it. They're making it table stakes to participate. And again, my view is like if they made this hey, in order to realize this additional benefit, right? Like by opting into this,
sure.
we're going to help you improve ad performance or blah blah blah, and you have a choice to opt in, but you don't have to. Totally different ball game. But this forced opt-in, and then I'm reading some of this too. You agree that Google may sublease these rights to its affiliates and contractors to perform services for Google. Basically, Google can use this data however it wants. Contractors, they can sell it.
Sell
blah,
it.
blah,
They
blah.
can make new ads for it. They can build pricing
That's the
structures
part.
for the legal market.
That's the one that gets me is this idea of using the data to create actual ad creative. Like they're gonna take your intake data and make an ad out of it.
I, oh, I mean,
There you go. That's the right
it's just.
answer.
Blah!
So tell us what you think. If you've seen this, lawyers, are you are you you've got to Google's giving you notice, right? You're all on notice. You've got until June 5th to decide whether you're going to participate in LSAs moving forward. And by the way, Anthony Higman, I think, put on LinkedIn some very interesting ideas. Maybe we can get a link to that. But this is currently for LSAs. To Conrad's point, is this rolling out for Google Ads altogether? Like, is this the new policy language?
No, so it is, and I deliberately haven't clicked through, but this is very, very clear that this is about extending to the network. Let me read this. Google may link your local service ads accounts to your profile accounts across other Google services. It talks about products and services across other Google platforms. In your local service ads and across other Google products and services. This is taking a piece of data out of LSA and extending it across the universe. And
now let me ask you this. Now, and this is the one. This is the thing.
This is
it. This is the double-edged sword.
Okay.
They're going to use this data to train Gemini.
Okay.
You want to show up in AIOs?
They want a lot of information, and
you want to show up in AIOs,
right?
Let's say you're like, don't take any of this data. Who do you think they're going to show? You think they're going to show the firms that are restricting access to their data?
I will tell you this. How
about Google Maps? You want to show up on Google Maps in the future?
The vice president of Google Ethics and Accommodation at the American Bar Association, I would love to have that person weigh in on what lawyers should do with this. I mean, it's problematic from an ethics perspective. It's problematic from a privacy perspective. Those issues you've raised have been issues for a while, but like this takes it to another level.
It's like they're daring us to turn off the ads.
I hate this.
I'm looking at
I've hated local service ads from the beginning. This is
well, again, because of the catch-all here. Just to give some other horror stories here. Like they can use this data to make determines about whether or not your firm ranks in the organic local pack.
Right.
Period.
Of course.
Hey, yeah. we want to show in the organic results firms that are X, Y, and Z data, and we're using their local services ad data to help inform that decision, whether it's prominence or relevance or whatever factors they want to put it into.
That intake data to determine whether or not you are expensive or cost effective. And
here I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to do put on my do no evil cap for a second. My do
Where's
no evil
that?
cap, my do no evil cap, Google might say, hey, look, we want to show businesses who are delivering great customer experiences to people who call the firm.
Fair. So let me. This is the problem with there being
What's
history
up?
here. No, listen. If this had rolled out 5 years ago, Guy, I would have defended this. I would have. I like honestly.
Or let it be opt in. Let it be opt in, not mandatory opt in.
So the fact that they didn't do an opt in is problematic. But really, what's problematic to me is the shenanigans that they've pulled recently to make pay-per-click less efficient, so they make more money, right? And that is not a question. That is a fact. And if they had not done that, maybe I stay the Google cheerleader here. But I no longer. All right. It's 12:30.
Question.
You had a meeting,
Yep.
I believe.
I gotta go. I gotta go get.
You got to go. So I don't mean to kick you out, but I know you had to go. Stay tuned. Listen to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. We're going to be talking about this some more. We have an episode coming out tomorrow, which will not cover this, but we'll certainly be covering this on the subsequent one. Stay tuned and check your email, guys.
And send this stuff to your vendors. Send this stuff to your partners. Send this stuff to your marketing leads.
I'm an ass.
Everybody
what
should
I
be
would
talking
do,
about this.
I would not send this stuff to your vendor, your agency. I would wait to see if they bring it to you, and if they don't, find a different agency.
Boom.
Boom. All right.
Well.